more minutes until 11 o'clock. Well, sounds like everyone is in right room. So why don't we start now, if you don't mind? Okay. I'm so glad to introduce our presenters in this session. It's Lucine and Jackie Orion. Yeah. Well, why just to introduce yourself instead of for me to reading this, you know? Because
For me to introduce myself?
I think the audience will prefer to hear from you than me. So here is our presenter.
Hey, hello everybody. Very nice to meet you all. Let me begin. I'm an English teacher, homeroom teacher, English theater school club mentor, and a member of the Kindling Teachers and Students Global Association. I am trilingual in Russian, Armenian, and English. I teach English at middle and high levels in secondary school in the city of Achinsk-Krasnoyarsk region, Russia. Our school is constantly looking for and implementing new innovative methods of teaching to help our students reach their maximum potential. I have made a very long travel to meet you all here and to be a part of this great event. I expect lots of collaboration with my American colleagues so that we can share skills and experience and achieve good results in teaching. I'm very honored to be here and to be given an opportunity to speak on the importance of global education and share my experience with creating a global classroom. I'm very happy to talk about the role of global dialogue in creating global friendship and developing global citizens through promotion of open-mindedness and willingness, respecting and valuing diversity, and being active in the development of a peaceful, just, and sustainable world. Modern lesson is considered to be not only a textbook and a task. It should be a creative process, and the teacher plays an important role in providing favorable and conducive conditions for that. We should help students develop their language abilities, cognitive and social skills, and their interest in learning new things about the world. Class activity based on practical paradigm is called to create real situations of effective communication for developing socio-cultural competence of young learners. Let's consider the role of the global education in the classroom. First of all, for non-native speakers, it's a strong motivation to learn English. Facing difficulties with a foreign language, students often ask a simple question: why learn English? I'm not going to live in any English-speaking country. Now, having participated in a number of global projects and communicating with school children from around the globe, they see they do need it to communicate and be wiser about the world. Being involved in global projects, they improve their writing and speaking skills, and they feel more and more able to expand their language environment and make it more authentic. Having a circle of global friends helps students to learn cultures, religions, and countries, which in turn helps to learn tolerance and understanding. So you see, global project is not only about searching and finding specific knowledge and skills on some topic, it has lots of other benefits. Speaking of global communication, I would like to draw your attention to Kindling Global Education projects run by Kindling Association. The purpose of the association is to promote a global dialogue among the youth of the world. It is committed to helping teachers and schools connect to create and enrich mutually beneficial intercontinental relationships between classrooms. The Kindling platform allows schools to connect directly, integrating online projects on different topics into the classroom. A wide range of short school projects coordinated by highly educated, enthusiastic professionals, are offered to students all over the globe. I'm happy to be a part of this global collaboration and get my students involved in KidLink projects. Once they took part in them, they immediately got interested and showed their knowledge, skills, and creativity. Now let me introduce some of my experience with our global collaboration and show how it can provide more interesting, cognitive, and effective classes. I would like to start from one of the most challenging and beneficial KidLink projects, Landmark Games. Integrated classes are very welcomed now, so I arranged a couple of them with our geography teacher. Each of us prepared tasks for learners. They worked in small groups. By the end of the classes, the students had to have 9 composed clues concerning the significant landmark they had chosen. The next step was emailing the clues to our dear colleague, friend, and coordinator, Dr. Tersman, who then posted 3 clues per week. Teams from different countries had to email and guess all guesses to the coordinator at the end of the week. And the end of the 3rd week, all answers were posted on the project site. The task was really challenging. The students were trying to do their best to achieve a good result. They were making their research even at home, involving their parents. To share their guesses, they ran into English classroom during breaks after classes. They even called me late at night, asking, maybe it is a volcano, maybe it is a lake, maybe it is Kazakhstan, and so on. They were very excited. Landmark Game project is a project which demands research related to a group of subjects, such as history, geography, social studies, math, science, and others. Students are developing lots of competencies: speech, linguistic, social, cultural, compensatory, and cognitive. They are honing their skills and collaboration with peers and the teacher, responsibility for cooperative work, ability to solve a problem, critical thinking, creativity, and global awareness. So, a big thank you goes out to Dr. Terry Smith.
He left. He said he'd be back.
From me and my students for his huge support and willingness to answer any question at any time we needed it. Thank you, Dr. Smith. The next project is Finish My Story. Kids have to compose the first part of their own story, entitle it, then teachers post them on the site and let partners compose endings. Children can include illustrations for their stories, which makes the process more creative. Can you imagine their happiness when they receive a completed story? One story written by 2 or even more kids from different countries. Some of them didn't actually believe at first. Yes. The next KidLink Global project is Describe and Draw. About the rules, students had to describe their appearances, features, character, hobbies, and share with global friends, who then drew them based on these descriptions alone. This time we partnered with Colombia. Then Russian students drew Colombian kids' portraits. The result was amazing. In this picture, you can see the KidLink corner I created with the help of the parents. The works of each student are hung here. They enjoy seeing their work alongside the works of friends from other countries. In this picture, picture, you see greetings to our Colombian friends. And this is greeting to us. And one more group. Very exciting. Our one more KidLink project is What's My Number? Once again, this is a project demanding a wide area of research. It said to create a math puzzle for partners and find a solution for the one they received. This was another integrated class, this time an English IT one. On the first slide you can see the rules explanation moment and how students are trying to solve the first puzzle. And the next picture shows they have already got to learn the rules and are very excited. A lot of puzzles were created and solved both by us and our partners. Not yet. Now about KidLink Role. As you can see, the KidLink Association has transformed my classroom into an interesting and intriguing place for my students to learn a foreign language. And certainly, another effective way of global education and a communication tool for collaborative projects is a Skype conference call. It can be meeting a guest speaker, working together for a common assignment, interviewing each other, holding a contest on any subject or debates. It helps children with critical thinking and research skills and sharpens language and communication skills. One of our successful Skype experiences was the reading marathon dedicated to World Read Aloud Day and organized by efforts of my Russian friend and colleague Larisa Tarasevich. Kids were reading fairy tales, short stories, poems, fables. They even performed some fairy tales so that they can make them more impressive and entertain their global friends. Skype has evolved into a means of creating a global classroom where every student feels engaged in the face-to-face conversation with peers around the globe. And the last part of my presentation is related to pen pals. Those who get the students involved in this kind of collaboration knows how the class comes alive with the arrival of a big envelope. And pen pals is not about to think of the past at all. Kids can feel the letters, touch them, they even cuddle them sometimes and smell them. They feel really happy since somebody from a faraway region writes and responds to them. Our recent correspondence was with the Sinology faculty of the Agrarian College of Armavir, Russia. So you see we collaborate not only with other countries, but also with other regions in Russia. I involved my high-level students from the police class into it. They had to share their interests, their plans and expectations about the future profession and find the parallels between the two occupations, a policeman and a sinologist. As you see, pen pals is an exciting and effective way of communication. In conclusion, Global Project is not only about searching and finding specific knowledge and skills on a topic, but also about creating global friendship, developing language and communication skills, gaining responsibility and skillfulness, tolerance, understanding, and global awareness. And about our future plans for the future. I'm not going to quit this kind of activity. Moreover, I'm going to be involved in new projects. and expand our global friendship. I'm going to suggest new topics to discuss, both for Skype and for our correspondence. And of course, I'm going to encourage teachers and schools of my city to get involved in this global collaboration. That's all for now. Thank you so much for your attention. If you need more information, you can go to these links or ask your question emailing me. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for that presentation from Russia. My name is Lori Toll, and I am the founder of Full Circle Classrooms. A little bit about myself for a background. Spent a couple of decades teaching in traditional schools, both public and private, and then I realized that in our area, I'm from Massachusetts, there was a need for something different. And so I started a micro school 2 years ago, and it is an inquiry-based school where students learn through projects and they learn through their interests. Now, one of the things that we do at our micro school is, I don't consider myself a teacher. I consider myself a facilitator of learning, because it's all collaboration, it's interaction, it's letting kids be curious about things they have on their minds, and then from that, I find global projects where they can embrace their curiosity and run with it. So it's very emergent in nature, which makes it a bit challenging as an educator, but it's also very rewarding because it really lights that spark so that they are engaged and excited about what they're learning about. Then I take the language arts, the science, the social studies, the history, everything, the math, and integrate it into those projects. So where I am more of a facilitator, what I'd like to do while I'm getting this set up is have you all stand up for just a moment and find 2 or 3 people that you've not met before and just introduce yourself to them so that we get to know each other. My name is
Korean Park. Nice to meet you. So we have to learn about each other. Where are you from? I'm originally from South Korea, and I'm here in Radford University. Where are you from?
Northern Virginia. So I'm from
which county?
Culpeper? No. Yeah, a lot of people don't know where that is.
Well, I think I saw the roadside because I go to Northern Virginia area several times a year to go to the Korean grocery shopping, H Mart and Korean big market.
Yes.
So on my road trip, I think that I saw the sign. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, wonderful. Now you each get a chance to get to know each other a little bit. I hope as the day goes on, we do take that time to learn about each other because we all have one common goal, and that is embracing global-oriented learning. So I don't have any way to do this except to scroll, so I hope it doesn't make you dizzy as I go. But as I said, I developed Full Circle Classrooms. Started in 2012, and we opened a micro school 2 years ago. So we're going into our 3rd year. Fall 2017, it will become a K-8 nonprofit school. So it is project-based, interdisciplinary approach, multi-age. We use indoor and outdoor classrooms so that there's kinetic learning involved. And authentic assessments, meaning finding how each child is smart and embracing that. So if they are engaged in a project and we need to see how they're doing with their what they learned in their history or in their science, Some may test well on a sheet of paper. Others may be able to, in a video conference with the teacher, present what they've learned. Others could present it in a project, and I did bring one of the projects with me today. I do have a private school, but I'm team leader for an XQ Super School. Now, what that is Steve Jobs' wife, Laureen, and the Emerson Collective put forth $50 million, and this was last fall, to get schools to rethink how they teach and how students learn. As a team leader, I had 10 individuals on my team, and we put forth over the last year a project-based approach with a global learning focus. And we found out on July 26th we are finalists for $10 million, which would be implemented in a public school where we live. And again, just my goal is to not only reach students that I work with, but provide this project-based global learning environment for as many students as possible. This is just something that my students made, benefits of learning in a global oriented classroom. I'm sure you're all very familiar with. First one I'm going to talk about is are the landmark games, which Lucy talked a little bit about. So I have some students who are very invested in geography. They love geography. So we embarked on the landmark games thanks to Terry. And what it does, it really does promote digital literacy, which is something in this day and age, 21st century skills, is so important for students. We have students who are learning how to keyboard. They're learning how to hone in on research skills, which is so important in this day and age. And again, it really brings the learning to life. Lucy talked a little bit about how you have a set of clues. Each school, each class that participates has their students find a landmark, decide a group of clues that represent that landmark, and submit it to Terry. Other schools do the same thing, and then over a 3-week period, your students are given 3 clues each week. They have to take those clues and figure out where this landmark is. And then there's correspondence back and forth. So there's classes from all over the world that were engaged in this project. And my students, what we found is that it really did embrace a growth mindset for sure. It's constant questioning, and also it's more about the process. They would have times where they're really frustrated, times where they didn't understand clues, but that growth mindset where, okay, this is the journey we're on, and the level of excitement when they thought they found a landmark was just incredible. It also lets students play towards their strengths. So if there's a student who is an excellent typer, it might be another student who's thinking about, okay, what key words could we type in? If there's a student who excels at geography, they can look at the clues right away and say, oh, we are in this part of the world, this is where we need to zone in on. Other things that the Landmark Project brings about: student-directed learning, negotiating responsibilities, which is huge. Instead of a teacher, a facilitator saying, okay, this is the project we're going to do, and this is your role, and this is your role, and this is your role, allowing them to take ownership for that and say, I volunteer for this aspect of it, I volunteer for this. Time management skills, goal setting, social skills, executive functioning, all of these come into play through the Landmark Project. Here's an example of some of our clues that we had. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it actually. So up top it says it was the Kremlin. That was the first clue. The second clue, you can find it between 50 and 60 degrees east longitude. The height is 35 meters. There are 40 figures. Laurel wreaths in women. Those are the clues they had to go on the first 2 weeks. And my students are trying to dissect these clues and figure out and narrow down. And then the last week they would get the final 3 clues to try to put it all together. It also brings in critical thinking and mapping skills and opportunities for peer teaching. That doesn't mean that older students, I have a multi-age group, that doesn't mean that older students are necessarily teaching younger students, because there are some younger students who have strengths that they can also teach to older students. Here are just some examples on the next 2 pages of some of the landmarks that students found that they were pretty amazed by, and also, teaching them about different sites that you can go to see things in 3D. And again, if you look here, well, we hadn't quite figured out where the landmark was, but we were narrowing it down. This next one brought us to the Great Pyramids of Giza. And one of my students was super fascinated by the pyramids. And he wanted to take it a step further. I don't know if you're, how many of you have access to 3D printers, but we then took him to different websites where he could create his own model of a pyramid. So he was able to create this on a 3D printer, and inside it shows the parts of the pyramid. But he was inspired by this. So again, you can bring art into it, you can bring history into it, which they certainly appreciated through this project, really bringing the learning to life. More extension activities that the students did. They wanted to make a city of their own after they engaged in this project. So they made one on Minecraft, and they also made a model city. They also, different areas that they were looking at, made domino runs. Again, it's now they're working on fine motor skills, but they're also becoming more familiar with maps from this project. This next one I want to talk to you about is Mystery Skype. This is something that Microsoft has. Mystery Skype was a great opportunity for our students to think more about where we live, but also learn about another part of the world. And with that, our students developed 20 clues about our location, where we live. And we then partnered with another school in the world, and then we had a Skype session. It was about 45 minutes long, where our students and their students Skyped back and forth. And one of the facilitators at Full Circle Classrooms actually developed software so Skype can be recorded. So if you want that information, if you're interested in how Skype can be recorded, you can go to ecam.com, ECAMM.com, and it's simply called a call recorder for Skype. And Ken Aspazla is the who teaches technology, robotics, engineering to our students, and he's the one who developed that software. But again, a great opportunity to learn, to meet other students, to establish relationships with other students, and these also led to some pen pals afterwards, because they found things that they had in common with. Someone happened to say during the Skype session, "I like Harry Potter," and then, "Oh, you like Harry Potter?" And then so they find things in common. They develop these relationships with other individuals. So here's an example of some of the clues and that we gave for where we lived, and then they would give clues for where they live as well. It gives students opportunities for leadership roles and also for speaking roles, which is great experience, even starting at a young age. I mean, my students are as young as 6, and when they step up in that role, it's pretty exciting to see. The next one I wanted to talk to you about, these next two, are outreach to communities and villages that are in the process of trying to establish schools or learning atmosphere, learning environments for their kids. United World Schools is actually based out of England. And we are presently partnered with a village in Cambodia. These are locations where their kids do not have school right now. And by partnering with them, and there are different options, you could be a network partner, there's different levels of partnership, but by partnering with them, our students are interacting with the other students via a translator and developing a connection with students who are in developing parts of the world. It's called Teaching the Unreached. Here's the different levels. You could be a pioneer, a pathfinder, or a network. Because we're a very small school, we're a network. That means that ourselves and different schools all combine together to help facilitate the building of this one school in this village in Cambodia. Here's some examples. The goal, 50,000 children in school by 2018. That's the goal for this organization. Another one related to this morning's talk about water is the Africa Heartwood Project. And this is an opportunity to, again, partner with villages and bring water to the villages. Students serve as agents for change. And when students consider themselves change agents, that empowers them. They feel really good about themselves. They feel like they're doing something great. They simply take a bottle, a jar, they decorate it, incorporating art, and they collect spare change at their house, and each month we put it all together, count up the change, and I don't know if you can read it or not, but $2 per person per year can provide clean water for a group, and that one's in Liberia. Again, authentic experiences. It is definitely passion-driven learning, which at a very young age, all the way up through the grades, is so important to our future. Again, all of these projects bring in some public speaking skills, and I'll let you go ahead. When students are given opportunities to bring learning to life, it ignites a spark in them. Brain-based research supports this. Project-based learning with personal relevance promotes the firing of synapses from various parts of the brain, thus opening up opportunities for higher retention of information. Various roles and responsibilities in project-based learning enable educators to keep students learning with learning differences within their zone of proximal development, boosting achievement. I was at a brain-based learning conference in Florida in April and was speaking with Ken Robinson about this and how important this is. And there's research that supports that this project-based learning is so important to the future of education. I only have a couple minutes left, so I'm really quickly going to go through these. You're okay. And again, speaking with Ken Robinson, I don't know if any of you have read Creative Schools, but just thinking outside the box, how can we, my goal as an educator, how can we engage students in meaningful learning experiences? And these are some of them. So curiosity, creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, compassion, and citizenship. And again, these things build self-esteem, stimulate that innate curiosity that all students have. And you know, I was very pleased to have this opportunity to come here today and speak about this. And you know, we're all in this together to create these authentic experiences for students and increase their level of engagement. And it's hard. How many of you are public school teachers? Many of you? Specifically in public schools, you've got standards, you've got frameworks that you have to meet. So finding these ways to incorporate projects is not an easy task, but it's a very worthwhile task. Lastly, when we give these students these global experiences, it creates in them a a feeling of wanting to spread peace. And one of my friends, Kate Carroll, has written a book called I Speak Peace. It's great for lower elementary, but also just giving that overall message that the more global education, the more global-oriented projects we do, the more we're going to be able to embrace each other's differences, embrace each other for who we are. And that is all I have. It's been a pleasure to be here, and now we will have Judith finish with her presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now you've heard all these great projects, right? And you're going, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to do this in my classroom? I am a public school teacher. I have been for 24 years. And I'm sorry, but I sometimes buck the system. And yeah, I know the SOLs are there, but we gotta do some other things because the SOLs aren't the end all. And my bigger goal is not that the kids pass the SOL. I mean, I know they're supposed to and all that. But my bigger goal is I teach world geography and I want them to have empathy and understanding for other people in the world. And the only way to do that is to get them to start trying things and meeting other people, so to speak, and trying to work with other people. So came across the Landmark project this year, and I don't know about you. One, I'm not really type A. I don't keep myself very well organized. So I knew with this, I have 5 classes that ranged anywhere from 6 students to 28. And I knew I had to figure out something to get myself organized in order to do this. So I am giving you everything that I'm showing you today. I gave you my card so that on the back you could write the little quick tiny website that I'll give you at the end. Okay? You can go grab it. I'm also going to tweak the website probably in January when it's time for the Landmark game again, because I was just standing in the back of the room listening to Lori and I thought, I'm going to put a world map on this page so that then they can X out places and, you know, that way, because they were already doing that. They were pulling my maps down. They were pulling out atlases. I mean, they had the big honkin' National Geographic Atlas bulk out. So it was awesome. So everything they've said, the kids are amazing. What I want to do is show you from the teacher side a way to make your life amazing. So that's what I'm going to walk you through. Lori, I'm just going to close you out. Oh, Terry, are these the originals?
Those are your PDFs.
Oh, so you went and got okay, don't worry. I just got to remind myself which one comes first. I had them marked by A, B, C, D, and so on, so that's why. Okay, so what we did, yes, this is the page I want to start with, is I just went out and found a bunch of links that, like the 100 best landmarks in the world and stuff like that, and threw it on a website. And that day I explained the project and I told the kids, I said, okay, because my class from day one sits in a group of 3 to 4 students. They're always with the team, always. And so their team's job was to jump onto these websites and find out ones that were like, whoa, we really like this. So I just told them, I said, just start looking. And if you get tired of looking at those websites, I don't care, go off on your own, go find something. And so what we did on the board is, I have a whiteboard that runs the whole length of the room, is every time somebody came up with one they thought was really cool, they came up and wrote it on the board. So, we had a lot of landmarks. Then what they did was, on my projector, I would pull up if somebody's like, now what was such and such? Because they had some obscure landmarks they had pulled up. And so then I would show them and they would pick. And so as a group, we came to a group consensus through voting. Majority won. And then at that point, that was their landmark. So that's the first part that I did. Then what I did to make my life a little easier was I came up, with this page. And each team got this page. And what they had to do, they did the landmark choices up at the top, and that was the first day. But then the second day, once we had chosen our landmark, they had to write it down here. You need 9 clues for your landmark. I'm telling you, you want at least 15 or more because you're going to want to tweak them. Because some of them are going to be like, it's in Paris. And the rest of the class will be like, that's too easy. So things like that will come up. So each group has to submit 4 clues. Okay? Then what I did was I took everybody's clues and I typed them up that night, and it wasn't immediate night because I needed a little more time to type 5 classes of clues. There we go. And so then this group chose the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona in Spain, the biggest church in the world. And they had their clues, and I just put them on lines and made it really big so that they could see. And then they'd start tweaking. We'd go to the first one, they're like, oh, that's too easy. And so I'd just highlight it with a line, like a strike through, so they could still see it if they needed to go back and tweak it. And then we just, if something was really obvious, and they're like, no, throw it out, we'd throw it out. From there, if we ended up with 9 clues, great. If we ended up with 7, we had to start researching again, and they'd have to find some more clues. If we ended up with 12, then they had to decide which ones were the best. And the best thing was I had a class, and only one class figured out to do this. They were sitting there, and they're like, Miss Painter, I said, yeah. Highlight all our clues and put them all in Google at the same time. And I'm like, oh guys, it'll never come up with this. And they're like, just do it for us. Okay. Oh my gosh, it came up with the place. They were like, oh, we can't do those. And they wanted to retweak. Until they got a group of clues that you couldn't take all of them and just dump them in Google, and boom, it came up. So it was really neat. Like this one, the icing on the cake, there was another word they used for it on all the websites about it, and it was sort of like icing on a cake, so they were changing the words. I think it was frosting they used or something. And so the kids started changing and using different adjectives. So they'll get really into this part of that. Then you play the waiting game until you get the first list from Terry. So while the waiting game was going on, I developed this page for every team. Because once I got the team list, I was like, okay, I know the teams. So what I did was I made this page for every single team that we were competing against. I think, what were there, 26? I don't remember now.
In your group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least.
So I needed some way to keep track of all this. So what they did was, this was their work page. There was nothing on the back of the page. They get the first 3 clues once they come out, and I printed that for every single class, so there were 5. They had to put their week 1 question right there. Because I didn't have time for my students to sit and type all these websites, all these answers and submit them to people. It was too much. Some kids are absent, some aren't. I just like, oh, I'll do it myself. So they had to put their week 1 question there. If when they turned their folder in, when I took folders and it was the time to turn questions in, and they didn't have a question there, they submitted no question that week. So they knew that they lost a chance to get some more clues. Okay. And then week 2 and week 3, and then final answer. What I'm going to do this year is I'm also going to put a map right there, so that then they can mark and go through it. Then what would happen is when the next set of clues came out, I printed the week 3, and then the next set of clues will be right beneath the week 3. So I just printed out that page. We just cut it out, pasted it on the page wherever they had white space, bottom, back, and then they would start writing more of their research on here. And the key is, because the class of 6 wasn't a problem. They could go, hey, you were working on this. But the class of 28, one person might get the sheet one week and another person might get it the next week. And so I wanted them not to always work on the same one. There were a few who were, oh, I think I know what that one was. Who has? And they'd go out and find the person. So that was definitely a piece to keep the clues going. They had to put their research. We had one group that put a question on that was pretty specific and didn't include any of their research. And the person the next week had to go figure out who the group was and go, what were you all thinking? Because it's right, and I don't know what to do now. And so they realized the importance of writing all their notes down and their thought process. So that was a neat way to go about this. The other thing I did is, because you're going to have 26 teams emailing your teams asking for questions. I had 5 teams. You multiply the 5 times 26, the amount of questions could come in a week. And each team can only ask 1 question. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll be creative, and our teams will go through. Let's see, there we go. And I made a weekly checklist because the teams wanted to know the questions that the others were asking. This worked fine the first week because because I was writing all the questions down, and then I'd ask the teams. I wasn't answering the questions, I'd let them answer. So if they asked a really weird question, the kids had to pull out the computer or pull out their wireless devices and figure it out. Because I'm like, nope, if it's really blatantly wrong, I'll stop you, but it's your job. This is your project. I'm not going to do it this way next year because it was overwhelming. By week 2, I was not writing any questions down. I was just reading off the computer. Okay, team such and such, what you know. So what I'm going to do next year is just create the list of team names here, and then week 1, week 2, week 3, and just check it off. That way we're like, okay, these teams have been asking questions, and so on. So that's pretty much what I did. Where you're going to be able to find it is on my website. I've got this, and everything I just told you right there in parentheses, which example to look at the bottom of the page, and that's the small website to get to. So.
Is that it?
No, I'm giving wait time so they can write. So, but when I update it and put the map on and things, I'll re-update here so that if you go in like January and you want to do the landmark game, because it's in, Terry, when's the registration for the landmark game usually?
Mid-January.
That's what I thought, okay. Somewhere in that time period, you'll see some new pieces appear here. So, do you all have any questions about mine, about what Lucine did, what Lori did, any of the pieces we did, because we were trying to get a ton of stuff to you in a short time frame. Is there something you want to know more about, or one of the projects that somebody else has been working on, or, sorry?
My question is, what did your students think of having only be able to ask yes or no questions?
That, I forgot about that part. That was so cool because I actually had just read a book. I can see the picture. It has a bird cage on the front of it. Make just one choice. It's something like that. That actually teaches the students question each.